Welcome back, Wealth Builders. Michael Rosmer here with Richucation. Excited to be with you guys. We are talking right now about, it's going to be a really quick video, and it's just talking, we're kind of clarifying a lot of what we're talking about here, which is with respect to the benefits of assets. Okay? So, benefits of assets. And this is, what do assets allow us to do? Okay, that we would maybe have challenges doing before without assets. Okay, so the first thing is drive down costs. All right, assets should generally drive down costs, and we see this through economies of scale, or rather economies of scope. Right, we talked a little bit about the difference between them, and so on economies of scope, we invariably get some cost benefits. Awesome, love that. Right? What are some other things that they do? Well, they could save time, right? Save time. Now, what does that mean? That means that our ability to execute for clients could go down. Our ability to execute on our strategies go down, right? Our ability to move faster gets changed, right? This is, maybe we have technology platforms, maybe, whatever, right? Saving time, templates, so on and so forth. Very, very valuable. So that's allowing us to move faster, right? Moving faster, potentially a competitive advantage, right? Usually a competitive advantage. What else have we got that assets might do for us aside from saving us time and doing that? Well, they might enhance our capabilities, right? Enhance capabilities. This is one we haven't really talked too much about, and that's a good reason to mention it. This is, let's say that you're going out into the world, you're going out into business, etc., and you're saying, all right, what have I got to do? I want to be able to compete with, customer or with other competition. I want to be able to provide a value that's unique to the customer, okay? And maybe that is, I need to supply clean drinking water for some remote area, right? Or I need to be able to provide clean drinking water very inexpensively. So maybe I developed some technology that allows me to do that. Somebody else couldn't do it because they didn't have the technology. Okay, so it enhanced my capabilities, which allows me to gain market share, reach a broader number of people, be more competitive. Okay, all of those things come potentially from assets. Okay, and typically those are when we can do that in terms of a technology or some sort of infrastructure, etc. Right? If you think about a cell phone company that has assets in the form of towers in remote areas, they can offer better coverage than other companies that's enhancing their capabilities, right? So, useful to consider. What else have we got? Also could be, faster internet speeds for internet providers or whatever. Okay, some other things that we can do in terms of assets. Well, assets generally assist with scale, okay? Assist with scale. So, you can scale a lot more easily because you've got assets. Way, way more easily. Okay? So that's very valuable. If you want to scale your company, get assets. You want to drive your costs down? Get assets. You want to save time? Get assets. You want to enhance your capabilities? Get assets. Okay? What else have we got? Well, leveraging team. Now, what are we going to talk? What is this all about? Leverage team. So what we want to talk about here is two things. One is retention. Okay, retention. Actually three, because we'll talk about reduced competition. And third, what are we going to talk about? So we've got retention, reduced competition. We also have increased staff value. Okay, and these all kind of go together. All right, so let's give us an example. Say we have a huge list and we get ourselves a great copywriter, right? The value of that list, we've increased the value of the employee by leveraging what they're doing over a much broader thing. What about in terms of reducing competition? Well, what I'm talking about here is there's a lot of businesses where there's a concern that my people are going to leave me and go and start up to compete with me. Okay? So as an example, let's say we have a hotshot trucking company. How easy is it for somebody to leave you and go and become your competitor? Really easy, right? They just need a vehicle. They go and get some contracts, off they go. Maybe they need a little bit of insurance, whatever, but it's pretty insubstantial. By contrast, how easy is it for somebody to leave a railroad company and go and compete with the railroad? Super hard, right? Because you've got this asset that's very difficult to replicate. How easy is it for somebody to leave a cell phone company and go and compete providing cell phone service? Almost impossible, because there's an asset. Okay, so you're reducing competition in that way. And that comes into retention a little bit, right? Which is, first of all, the incentive for people to leave and do that is less. Their increased value, which means you can pay them better, compensate them, take care of them, hence has a better value. Okay, so very, very important. This is going to be critical. So obviously we're boosting margins, we're working on team, things are great here. We have another important thing that we want to mention though, and that is competitive advantages, okay, which follows from this, right? So this can provide competitive advantage, and durability. Okay, so the assets can provide a barrier to getting in. It's one of the things that Warren Buffett will talk about, right? It's like, hey, if I have to go compete with this company, how much money do I have to put in order to even compete? So this is one of the reasons I was big on investing in Intel at one period of time. Intel's stock was way down. They traded at, briefly, as I recall, it got to just below 10 times multiple. And it was, I think, around 2011 or 2012, something like that. I was following the stock and kind of working on it. It was like early days of really starting to get onto the Warren Buffett-esque principles. And the stock was down for a couple of reasons. One was that the PC market was in decline, which meant the volume of chips being sold was theoretically going to be in decline. It was, I believe, declining at the time. And Intel had a failure to get into the mobile space, okay? So they weren't being very successful in that regard. And I looked at it and I said, doesn't matter. Intel has a durable competitive advantage. What do we mean by that? Well, right now, to manufacture microprocessors at that level requires fabs, that's what they call these foundries or whatever, that build the computer chips, cost billions of dollars. Intel has a bunch of these things. On top of that, Intel has a very efficient process of upgrading. I forget what they call the system. It might be TikTok or something. Anyway, there's like this system that they roll out for bringing into place their new manufacturing processes, and they're very efficient at it, okay? At the time, there was only like, I think 4 companies that could, so at the time, Apple was having the processors for their phones manufactured by Samsung, who was, of course, their biggest competitor, all right? And so there was talk of moving away from Samsung. Now, there was only like 4 or 5 companies on the planet that actually could do this, okay? There was TSMC, which is Taiwan Semiconductor and Manufacturer Corporation, something like that. There was Samsung, there was Intel, and there was Qualcomm, I believe. Maybe Texas Instruments might have been able to do it. I can't remember the exact details, but there's very few companies that could do it. And the reason is, this is really intense manufacturing, okay? And so what I said was, I was like, even if Intel's abilities to sell proprietary products, their own products, decreases, they have a durable competitive advantage in their manufacturing, and that's not going away. It's not like we're going to stop using microprocessors. In fact, we're going to probably need a lot more of them. It's not like competitors are going to be able to show up, because it would cost tens of billions of dollars to get into that industry. Maybe in the future there'll be some strange new process of manufacturing that will disrupt that industry, but it's not on the horizon. And so worst case scenario, Intel can turn around and they can end up contracting their manufacturing capabilities to other companies that want to develop microprocessors or manufacture microprocessors. And it turned out like a few months later, it was the first time that they actually did one of those contracts, which was kind of cool. So that was just an insight into the durability based on the assets, okay? So we can see that because they have this asset, it's virtually impossible to replicate that, or very, very hard, okay? It's like Google. Part of the problem with displacing Google, Bing has tried to do it, right? And technology-wise, they'll argue, hey, their technology is more or less equivalent, but the brand recognition and the distribution of Google search on devices, etc., is so prevalent that it's extraordinarily difficult to displace them, okay? People often confuse, they'll look at, I had a friend who, they created like sort of a Facebook replica, and they're like, hey, why, help us get users for this, why aren't people using it? It's like, well, because they have this huge user base. That's an asset. They have a network effect, right? Where we talked about active daily users. So competitive advantage, very, very important, all right? Assets are one of the best ways to create competitive advantage, and in particular, durability and competitive advantage. So I hope that helps. The idea, by the way, is because in order to replicate an asset costs a lot. You have to buy it, right, which can cost a lot of money if it's been built incrementally. You think about Facebook's user base. When they're at 10 million users, how hard was it to displace them? Relatively easy. At 100 million, harder. At a billion, harder still, right? I think they're at like 1.7 billion or something now. Almost impossible to displace them because of the fact that how do you go and move that many users? Like the process, it's been incrementally purchased, right? And so it's probably cost them billions of dollars to get that user base. And so can you come in and spend $10 billion to get into that space? You might say, well, it would be a worthwhile return. It's like, yeah, if you could ensure that you could make it happen. But you're talking about risking $10 billion for no promise of future return, especially since they're going to compete back. So this is like, as an example, Instagram with Snapchat, right? Instagram's copying a lot of Snapchat's features, makes it more difficult. So I hope that helps. If you guys want to look into this for your business, you want some support and assistance when you're ready right now, if you're ready to grow your company to the next level, join the action classes, reach out to us. I'll see you guys on the next video.